criminal. Speaking of money, and this implies certainly a high level of collusion, to use a hot button word from the last 4 years or so. But do you think that there's incentive from, we know that there's privatized for-profit prisons now that have very lucrative businesses that they're getting nearly free labor for, and I wonder, have you seen evidence of, or do you think that informs the way that the criminal justice system works in the actual courtrooms, and then beyond that, how police are told to act on the streets? Is it like this three-part sort of connected string of things that are all under some grand direction, or do you think they each have their own isolated issues that somehow feed the same problem?
Really insightful question. I don't believe that there's a connected sort of conspiracy being directed by, that's just not possible. There's too many people involved, and they don't stay involved forever. So too many moving parts for there to be that level of cooperation and collusion. Not to mention, how would the direction be communicated without discovery? No, I don't believe that is what we're talking about. What we're instead talking about is autonomous components of government operating in harmony to some extent to protect each other. Police are protected by the courts, because you hear it, judges say things like, well, I don't believe we have a system of policing where they're going around and arresting everybody who didn't do anything wrong. That judges believe that. And so it's hard to combat people who have presumptive faith in police, right? And so police then act, or judges then act to protect themselves. I mean, it's basically institutional players acting to protect themselves and the institutions that protect them. I will say things are getting better in Colorado. We passed a police accountability bill last summer that I believe should be an example for the rest of the country. I believe we were probably the first to do that. We removed a particular type of immunity from police. So police could kill you and be like, well, I didn't know killing that dude in that way was going to be illegal. Now, right. Remember from your own common sense, ignorance of the law is not a defense. You remember that? But it is a defense for police officers. Literally, they get to say in federal court, I didn't know that was illegal. And up until this summer in Colorado, and it's still the law in federal court, federal judges would say whether that was objectively reasonable or not. And if it was objectively reasonable that the cop didn't know the law, which is bizarre, then they get a pass. So ignorance of the law is no defense unless you're a cop.